Hi, I'm Charlie from Summary Sanctum, and today we're going after an invisible enemy. You know the one, it's that constant nagging chatter in your head that just drains your energy and completely steals your focus. We're going to dive into how to silence that noise and turn your mind from what feels like a chaotic prison into a peaceful sanctuary. So let's just start with a really important question. Is your mind your greatest weapon, or is it your worst enemy? Now, if you're like most of us, it often feels like the latter, right? A relentless source of worry, regret, and just constant distraction. But what if I told you that you actually hold the key to changing that entire relationship for good? The problem we're really digging into here is something we can call mental noise. It's that endless internal chatter. You know, the voice that replays that awkward thing you said in a meeting 10 times over, or the one that spins out all these worst-case scenarios for tomorrow. This noise, it just fragments our attention. It drains our energy, and honestly, it keeps us from being truly present in our own lives. Now, this noise, it doesn't just annoy us. It literally traps us. We end up living inside what feels like a mental prison. And the hardest part to swallow? We're the ones who built it. And we're the ones holding the key. So let's take a look at how we actually construct these walls around ourselves, piece by piece. So, this prison is built with three main walls. First up, we've got thought addiction. Our brains actually get hooked on stimulation, constantly craving the next thought, the next worry, the next notification. And this leads directly to that second wall, emotional reactivity, where our overstimulated mind makes every tiny setback feel like an absolute catastrophe. And the whole thing is held together by the third wall, attention deficit. And just to be clear, we're not talking about the clinical diagnosis here, but that modern epidemic where our mind is so scattered, it just can't focus on any one thing for very long. So what's the real source of all this noise? I mean, why are we so obsessed with our own thoughts? Well, the answer is surprisingly simple, and it really points to a fundamental misunderstanding most of us have about how our own minds actually work. This quote absolutely nails the core issue. The biggest source of our mental noise isn't our job or our relationships or what's in our bank account. Nope, it's our desperate attempt to control things that were never, ever ours to control in the first place. Think of it like this. It's like you're locked in this completely futile tug of war. You're holding one end of a rope, and on the other end, you've tied up the past, other people's opinions, and the entire future. And you're pulling with all your strength, trying to bend reality to your will. But here's the crazy truth. The other end of the rope, it's attached to nothing. You're just exhausting yourself pulling against thin air. And this right here, this is the crucial distinction. You can't control the past, but you can control your response to it. You can't control what happens out in the world, but you can control where you invest your energy. You can't control the final outcome, but you absolutely can control your actions in this present moment. That tiny gap between what happens and how you react, that, my friends, is where all of your power truly lies. Okay, so recognizing this is one thing, but how do we actually start to let go of the rope? What's the first practical step we can take to break free from this absolutely exhausting cycle? The very first step is a fundamental mindset shift. It requires moving our entire focus away from the destination and really putting it onto the journey itself. It's all about prioritizing action over outcome. The concept is so simple, but it's revolutionary. Instead of obsessing over the result, the promotion, the grade, the success, you pour all of your mental energy into the action you are taking in this exact moment. Because when you're fully immersed in the doing, anxiety about the future just doesn't have room to breathe. Just look at the difference here. The outcome-focused mind is constantly asking, what if I fail? Which, of course, just fuels anxiety and paralysis. But the action-focused mind asks a much more powerful question. What can I do right now? This is what builds momentum and gets you into a state of flow. The key is to stop tying your identity to the result and start tying it to your effort. Okay, shifting our focus is a huge step. But what do we do with the thoughts that are already in there, just screaming for our attention? For that, we need a practical toolkit. We need to learn how to relate to our thoughts, not as a prisoner who's trapped by them, but as a curious observer just watching them pass by. This next idea is honestly one of the most liberating concepts you can ever embrace. Your thoughts are not facts. Let me say that again. They are not objective reality. They are just stories, interpretations your brain creates based on past experiences and all kinds of fears. And just because you think something, well, that doesn't make it true. To tell these wild stories, our minds use these mental shortcuts called cognitive distortions. For example, there's catastrophizing, turning a small mistake at work into, I'm definitely getting fired. Or mind reading, assuming a friend's slow text reply means they must be mad at me. Or overgeneralization, where one bad date somehow becomes, I'm going to be alone forever. Just being able to spot these flawed patterns is the first step to taking away their power. Ugh, we all know this voice, don't we? The inner critic. It's so harsh, it's relentless, and it's completely unforgiving. It takes one tiny mistake and turns it into a total character assassination. It's that voice that tells you you're not good enough, and for most of us, it's been running the show for way too long. But we always have a choice. We can consciously decide to cultivate a different voice, the inner cheerleader. Now, this isn't about some kind of toxic positivity. It's about realistic self-support. It's the voice that acknowledges the challenge, but also reminds you of your preparation and your resilience. It frames any setback not as a final verdict on who you are, but as an opportunity to learn and to grow. So, as we bring all of this together, what's the ultimate takeaway here? Well, it all boils down to a single, fundamental choice that we have the power to make every single day, every single moment. First, we just have to accept a simple, hard truth. Our desperate grasp for control, it's an illusion. It always has been. The more we chase it, the more peace is going to run away from us. But what is real, what is tangible, is your power of choice. The choice of how you respond, the choice of where you place your focus, the choice of which inner voice you're going to amplify. That is where your true power lies. And what's the most powerful choice of all? It's simply to choose peace. Choosing peace over being right. Peace over winning an argument. Peace over trying to control an outcome you never had power over in the first place. So, I'll leave you with this one final question. After everything we've talked about, what is one thing, one worry, one regret, one uncontrollable outcome that you will consciously choose to let go of, starting right now? The art of a quiet mind begins with that single, powerful choice.